Hey, everybody. Welcome to the Irreplaceable Man podcast. Hey to the Irreplaceable Man community watching live. If you're listening to this and you want to watch live and be able to drop questions and things like that, just join our community. It's free. It's easy. There's tons of cool, friendly people in there, free resources in there. I said friendly. Yeah, I know. So I have, as promised, every 2 weeks, we're going to be recording an episode live with my lovely wife, Meredith. Lovely sounds so old.
It does a little bit.
We have.
What else are you going to say?
My amazing. That's a little younger. We have figured out. Look, we are a work in progress. Individually, our personal growth and development is a work in progress. As a couple, as a partnership, as a marriage, we are a work in progress. All of you are a work in progress. We feel that and evidentially too, for those of you that are going to call me on that, evidentially, and our feelings are that we have gotten this formula dialed in really well, really effective for us. And it's helped save our marriage, and catapult it forward and make it actually like really enjoyable and really thrive. Now, I have a different experience of our like wall hit back in 2016. My experience is there was a line drawn in the sand and that was it. And you're leaving if things don't change. What was it for you? Because maybe that's the way I played it in my brain. Was it in your mind? Was it like that? And I want to bring that up because a lot of guys ask me, what did your wife do? What did she say? And I want to just kick off with that because that's where our talk today about trust is going to really kick off. What was your like mindset, thought process? Because some guys' wives are out and they're like, yep, keep doing you. And they're completely checked out. And the next day, like they might leave. And some guys' wives are flipping out, cussing and screaming, and they'll stay for another 6 years. I'm out. Fuck you. I want divorce. Fuck you. Like, and they'll stay for 6 years.
Yeah.
There's a trust factor in there, in the self and in the relationship that is or isn't present. So I want to get out. For me, it was, if I didn't make a change in that moment, in that day, if I, at that fork in the road, did not choose the dark woods and I continued on to comfort land. And for those of you that don't get that reference, that's inside of our mastermind. It's one of our exercises to understand our choices at every moment and how they affect our future and our lives and the results for our lives. If I didn't go right into the dark woods and do the work on me, I would never see you and the baby again. That's how I thought about it. And in that moment, I thought, bro, you gotta saddle up and trust yourself to ride. I know you've been kicked off the horse. I know it sucks. I know you're scared. Like, you have to ride through these dark woods because you can't afford to lose her. Now, the other thing with trust that comes in there is that I trusted you at that time more than I trusted me. So I will leave you with that.
I don't think my comment in like when I made the, are you the kind of man that you want your daughter to attract comment.
Well, tell the audience who doesn't know what that comment is, who's maybe new to our world.
Or I asked Ian, I don't remember the entire scenario. I think you were just annoying the crap out of me and being ridiculous. And,
what does that mean? Because for guys listening, they're not listening just to hear another podcast. They're listening because they have similar challenges. They might not be facing a divorce. They may just be going through some rocky times, or their wife could have left. And whether they're in that like former or in the latter, and they want their next relationship to be much better, evidentially, what does that like describe?
What were you doing to annoy me?
Yeah. What wasn't I doing to annoy you?
How did I begin? I think at that time, so we had a new baby, we were working together full time.
Our business was growing really fast.
And you had kind of drawn a line in the sand of like, I work and I provide, and what I do brings in the income, and you have to take care of everything else.
I was delusional.
And what you forgot about is that I still worked full time too, and took care of the baby, and took care of the house, and took care of you, and you know, like all of the things, and paid our bills, and did all this stuff. And you literally just woke up in the morning and just went about your day.
Yeah.
And then we're just like yabbering. And it was in the evening, wasn't it, that I made this comment, or was it in the morning?
No, it was in the evening.
So
because you were making dinner, because I
yeah.
didn't do that.
No,
That's
you know,
fine.
you were probably complaining about dinner or the dishes or something. And
I was so selfish.
and you really enjoyed I don't want to say really enjoyed. That's not right. You just completely unaware of like what is happening in the moment around you.
Yeah.
So
Delusional.
being
Oh,
like
that was super
taking
selfish.
selfish, taking up my time, you know, while I'm trying to make dinner, while the baby's screaming, while there's this, while I've got to feed her, while, you know, all these things are happening, and you only want me to focus on you. And I think you said
Something stupid.
And my response was, are you the kind of man that you want your daughter to attract? Like, would you be okay with someone saying that? I don't even know what you said to me. Something probably really stupid.
Something really hurtful, I'm sure.
Would you be okay with someone saying that to your daughter?
Yeah.
And that's like that. It's literally, and that was, for me, it was like, that's what I wanted you to think about, because it wasn't a, you need to treat me better. You need to, I mean, yes, you did need to do that, but that's in my mind. I'm standing in the kitchen doing all of these things while you're able to do whatever it is that you want to do all the time, constantly. And I'm taking on a lot for you.
Yeah.
Your business, your kid, your whatever,
the household,
whatever you
finances,
were eating that day, whatever, you know, like, and you didn't have to do any of that. And so my response to your stupid comment was, is this what you see in the future for your daughter? Because if it is, like, then you're really screwed up.
Yeah. Yeah.
Because we're also, I mean, as we live our life, we're teaching our kids, right? Like, yes, we sit down with them and show them things, and we take them places, and, you know, purposefully educate them, but then they're also watching on a daily basis.
Yeah. I mean, it was a different experience for me. It was a fork in the road for me, because there was a look in your eye that was very different.
Mm-hmm.
And there's a lot of guys.
Well, I was just going to say, this is also after, she was probably 6 months old, not even, maybe.
This is December.
Was it?
Yeah.
Oh, in my mind, it was like later. Okay, so she's a year old. So I'd spent like a year
raising a kid on
my own. Yeah.
Yeah. So you hit me with a couple things that day, and I'm gonna.
No, I remember a stupid comment that you made around that when I come.
Fill us in.
Oh my God, you're such an asshole.
I was scared.
I know, but like the thing, like, when I asked you to do something simple.
Oh, I know what you're gonna say.
The dishes?
Yeah, I know.
No, but this is another thing.
Oh.
Yeah, you spent more time trying to find someone to come and do the dishes than it would have taken you to actually do the dishes.
Well, can I tell the guys why?
Oh, yeah, you can tell them.
No, I want to make sure that you guys understand, like, we're making light of this. However, that was the catalyst to everything that the Irreplaceable Man is today, and everything that our company is, and everything that our marriage is today. Like, for those of you that weren't here last week, building a business like this, being on live in our community with potentially 1,200 people plus seeing this, the thousands, maybe tens of thousands of people that are going to listen on this podcast. This is our accountability too, to make sure that we are true to what we say we're doing and what we actually do. You know, there's congruency there. But like, the guy that I was back then was so scared that I had no other value in the world besides the money I made and the business that I was in and success that I had, that my behavior was a reflection of that fear that was driving me, that was fueling that fire, that insecurity. And like, if I focused, in my opinion, in my thoughts at that time, if I focused on anything else other than making money at a high level, success at a high level, if I focused on anything else, it would dilute my power, and I could potentially not be as good or not be as successful or not make as much money, not be rewarded, not be approved of, not be liked, not be loved. And then in my mind, there was a death sentence with that. So that was my programming, and that was my belief pattern, which came out in my mindset and my attitude, my behavior and my language, and like everything that I was at that time was being fueled by this fear that I wasn't going to be good enough if I didn't, like, who was I if I was just a husband that helped his wife out? I mean, that's mediocre. And if I'm just a husband that comes home and like takes the baby and plays with her and gives and makes dinner and like,
shocking if I cook something.
Right. So like we're making light of it, guys. That's real. I deal with guys every fucking day who are like, bro, I don't know how to break this cycle. This is what we're talking about. The cycle that I was experiencing, and the experience that you had from that cycle that I was in, which by the way, thank God you were so fucking strong. I mean, if you had been a weak person or codependent on me, like, you would have melted and our kid would have been sleeping at Nana's house, you know? So testament to you. We can high five if you want, or we can push our little bracelet. I'll tell you guys about this bracelet later. So I wanted to make sure that everybody's clear on that, because it's not just us telling some stories. Like, this was a really fucking low point for both of us. And that moment that we're talking about here was a critical moment for me, because it was like, bro, you know, as we're talking about trust here, it was like, in my head, it was like, dude, this person you trust more than you. If you don't start making the changes in you and show up as the man she needs you to be, the husband, the father, the provider, the carer, the giver, the lover, everything, like, she will fucking roll on you. She will replace you with a guy that can take care of her, and your ass will fucking live with those regrets for the rest of your life, knowing that you could have done something, knowing you could have made changes, and you didn't fucking make a commitment to you. That's what was going through my head. And I know a lot of guys are going to register with that. Guys, drop some comments in the live feed right now if that registers with you. Like, it's scary as shit to start to turn and face the monster you've been running from, or you've been using drugs, alcohol, work, money, success, your hobbies, your culture, your body, whatever it might be, to run from this thing that you've been facing or afraid to face. And when you turn and face it, there's so much unknown and unpredictable that you're like, fuck, will my whole life change? Will I still be this identity? Will I still be loved and liked? What if I can't be successful in business as this new irreplaceable version of me? Well, the answer is, you either step into that shit and take a chance to understand that the possibilities are actually there. It is possible for you to build this life you want, or you got to face that regret in the future that will never, ever get easier, because you'll never be able to make a different decision. You will have the regret of the decision and the compound effect, the snowball effect of that decision that you made in that one period of time to move on from your wife, or let her go, or not pay attention to your kids, or not take care of your body. You'll never be able to fucking go back. And so what we're talking about here has a lot of weight to it for your future, for your legacy, for your children as a model. Like Mary was talking about, like, Mary said to me, are you the model of a man you want your daughter to attract into her life one day? And because the trust for you was so much
partner
or partner. Yeah. What if she chooses?
Yeah.
And because the trust for you was so much bigger than my trust, your trust for me was so much bigger than my trust for me. In that moment, my ego like threw its hands up and went, you're going to have to make a call on this one. Because I want to go this way. But even my ego was scared. even my ego was like, I don't know if we want to deal with that shit. Because I also watched you pop a baby out. It was the most
I definitely did not pop
no
a baby out.
It was the strongest I've ever seen you. And in your eyes that night, what I saw was, don't keep thinking that she needs you, bro. She doesn't. And when I had this replaceable conversation with a mentor of mine and really understand what being replaced would be like, what I'd feel like, what I'd have to deal with, I saw your power and that you actually didn't need me. Because in that moment, and guys, if you're the breadwinner in your relationship, listen up. In that moment, if you had had an option financially that matched or exceeded what I was doing, you would have left.
Mm-hmm.
Guys, take that seriously. I'm lucky that you didn't have the financial option at that point.
I probably did. I mean, I could have, at that point, I was running your team. I could have gone out and gotten another job.
Yeah, I mean,
with
fair.
any other team.
I'm saying in that moment. I mean, like, if you
Well,
had an
it's
account with millions, or like really wealthy parents, or like an uncle that died and left you $2 million, like if you had that, I wouldn't have had this.
Oh, like if I was just like, okay, I'm out, and like didn't
Or
have
or
to
if
put
if you
any
had
planning
been,
into it.
guys, you got to remember your wife has secretly been stewing in this for years potentially.
Mm-hmm.
And so at the moment when she starts to voice, or at the moment when she flips out on you, that's not a flip out in the moment. So I've talked to a lot of guys who go, hey man, you know, my wife's pissed off because about the dishes, or I don't clean up after myself in the bathroom. I'm like, bro, that's like the icing. The iceberg is the 10 years before that you've been pissing her off at every level.
Mm-hmm.
Now, let me drop a little promotion in here real quick. I went through and look at all my notes and my journaling from 2016 through 2018. And I found the 12 patterns that I started to understand created the snowball effect of and created the result that we had in our marriage at that point. That created me and the way that I ran my life, that created our marriage and the results for that created our relationship, our partnership. And I organized those in a document, and I want to give it to you for free. It's literally just a 12-step guide that I designed and wrote out all of my experiences so that you guys can see the snowball effect. Because I think that's the thing that I was missing, was that in that moment, I'm like, why are you so pissed off? Like, we did well this week. We had a good week. We made money and we went to Hershey Park and the baby's happy and blah, blah, blah. But what I didn't understand was the 98% of all the other shit that I was doing or not doing, or being or not being for you and our relationship, that was fueling your fire and your decisions.
Mm-hmm.
And guys, it literally is the 12-step guide to becoming an irreplaceable husband. It is free. I will give it to you. Just if you're live here in this recording, drop a comment below and just say 12-step. And I'll send that out to you, or I'll send you the link. Anybody listening on the podcast, if you want that, you can DM us, you can private message. Just I just jump in and do something, take action, and just reach out to me and say, I want that 12-step guide. It's free. It's yours. Okay. And if you need more help, you can come to us and you can ask us about coaching, or our masterminds, or our membership program. I'll talk about it at the end. All right. Quick pitch, because I just thought that was really appropriate. If you want to know what those small little pieces are, it's that. It's that. That's what's fueling the blow up. That's what's fueling when your wife goes, hey, I made a decision and I'm leaving. And you go, well, what the hell? Things have been pretty good. Well, for the last 8 years, they hadn't been good. You know what I mean? Or for the last 20 years, they hadn't been good. Or for the last year, you've been this guy. And she's been taking note of every little thing throughout the day, not just the big things like, I'm sorry I didn't do the dishes. I'll do the dishes. And she goes, dude, it's not the dishes. It's the 94 things that you said, didn't do, didn't say, didn't show up to. That shit. Mm-hmm. Snowball effect. So I want to comment on that, because that's fresh. I just built that. And or I just kind of like tweaked it. And now I'm just gonna let it out there to the world, because I think it can be really helpful. Mm-hmm. Yeah. So yeah, that was a challenging time. And it wasn't like to me, it was you putting a gun to my head and saying, in this moment, you got to make a decision. You're either going to do the work on you, or I'm fucking gone. To me, it was that severe, because I saw that look in your eye, because I trusted you more than I trusted me. And my ego, like I said, backed down at that moment and said, bro, you better go right into those dark woods. And it's going to be rough, and you're going to find out a lot of shit that you don't want to know about yourself, or that, you know, traumas from your childhood or whatever. And the alternative is she rolls out. So if you're listening and you don't want to stay in your marriage, this isn't for you. And if you're listening and you have challenges, or you're listening and go, well, it's not that bad. It's not as bad as you're describing, Ian. Ours wasn't that bad either. If you painted a picture on social media, or, you know, you looked at like everything going on in our life, it was those little tiny things that added up, that snowballed up. And so for me, it was that intense of a moment. And it wasn't like that for you.
It wasn't that intense, no.
In your opinion, looking back on it now, what would you have done? Would you have gone another couple years? Would you have like, what I want the guys listening to know is, would you have started making plans to give yourself some additional options at that point? Or were you like, I'm going to stick this thing out for another 7 years? Or were you like, I'm fucking done at this point? Because in my mind, you were done at that point. What was your experience?
Obviously I wasn't done at that point.
You also didn't have the option financially to roll out in that moment, I'm saying.
Yeah.
Like before that, had you been planning anything? Because
no.
I know.
I feel like I don't want to sound like it.
I just want,
it wasn't impactful for me or that whatever, but like, I know you were obnoxious and annoying, and like you were someone that I could not rely on. And so honestly, in that moment, that year and a half, how, you know, it was, I'm going to focus on me. I'm going to take care of me. I'm going to take care of the baby. I'm going to, you know, and like, you were there, but you weren't really there.
While we're talking, I mean, the whole thing's about trust. And we're going to get into how we learn to trust ourselves and each other. Like, how did you trust yourself so much to show up for you and Ellis, because she was little? Like, how did you do that? I want guys to have an inside track to maybe what their wives are dealing with while they're out fucking doing whatever they're doing. Delusional that they're making the money, so that justifies them doing nothing else. Like, how did you build you and know that you could get up every day? Was it like just motherly instincts, or was it like you motivating yourself, or how did you continue to maintain while you were also pissed off at me, feeling hurt, not feeling supported? Your opinion didn't matter. You got trauma on that too. You got a new baby. You got a husband that's not supportive, except for financially. How do you trust you in that situation to step up and show up for you every day and her?
I think it was just like natural instinct. Like, this is what I have to do. No, I think it was just this, it was that like season of my life where I had a little baby and I was the only one.
Yeah.
So I had to just push forward.
Were there days that you were like, I don't know how the fuck I'm going to do this today?
There were they're not like, I don't know how I'm going to do this, but like, I am so burnt out.
Yeah.
Doing all of these things. I remember calling you one time. It was like 7:00, getting ready for bed. And I just was like, I couldn't do it anymore. And I remember calling you and being like, you need to get the fuck home because I'm exhausted. I can't.
Yeah, I do remember times like that.
But there wasn't another choice at that time.
I think a lot of guys' wives would
I mean, here's
associate
the thing.
with that.
Like, the first year of your baby's life it's all new. Every phase is new. When you think you've got a hold of it, something, you know, the baby's into a new phase. They're, you know, eating, or they're doing this, and there's so much going on that I don't think I had time to focus as much on, am I going to leave, or am I going to just keep going, taking care of my baby and me?
Yeah.
You know what I
understand
mean?
that. Yep. That makes sense. I totally get that. There's a part of me that feels like, I'll tell you that the things that so I'll give all you guys an example. Okay. As long as you guys can hear us, see us, whatever, you'll get it on the podcast if you miss it. The one of the ways that I started making the changes and started learning how to trust myself to make these changes, even though I really didn't know where I was going, I knew why though, was that I started forward and future projecting the regret that I would feel and the pain that would come with that in the future.
Mm-hmm.
And then I would sit and do a meditation, and I would personify that and feel it and bring it in and use NLP and breath work to really open up my body and say, if you go left into comfort land, this is what you're going to feel in a year, 5 years, 20 years, 35 years from now. Do you want that? Right. And then I would imagine that the future regret was on one side of a scale and that the pain of the present moment was on this side of the scale. And I weigh them.
Mm-hmm.
And the future regret and the pain of knowing that you can never go back and change it, and never make a difference, that always weighed more than the fear of taking action now. And the fear of like, well, what's going to happen now? What does it look like? Well, how do I do this? And here's slide in here a little bit more. Yep. And I didn't want to face that. Now, I could tell you that today I have the pain of the regret of the decisions that I made in the past. I still think about. And if I could go back, and I was telling someone the other day, if I could go back and redo anything from the last 10 years,
Mm-hmm.
I would be present when our kids were like little babies.
Mm-hmm.
And I would change my selfish attitude and thought process and my own fears and insecurities. I would just tell you about them. I mean, I didn't have those skills back then.
Yeah.
So no excuse. I just didn't have those skills. And I would have balanced my schedule more instead of being constantly fucking busy, which, by the way, guys, if you're constantly busy, it's an excuse. You're running, you're avoiding. Slow down. That's my best piece of advice. I would have slowed down, stopped packing my calendar full of shit, had huge blocks in the beginning and end of the day to just be with you and her. And like that's something that actually hurts my heart today still. And I get emotional about thinking, going, who the fuck was I to like think that was okay? You know what I mean? Like to treat you like that, or to leave you.
Yeah, I think
like
that there was a little bit of it, like an environment thing, that kind of movement was achievement at that point in time, and you couldn't break away from that. And I'm not defending any of your actions, because I still get triggered. You know, they're like, and I think that's what, you know, we should probably talk about that at some point too. But like as words, your growth and change and whatever, there's still healing that I had to do from who you were. And sometimes I still have to recognize that, you know what I mean? Like if I get triggered, I have to understand that it's not a current behavior. The trigger is that's better. Is because of the past and something that like I haven't completely. You're talking about
your trauma trigger in you.
Yeah. And I think that also.
Can you elaborate a little bit more? Because that is, guys, just FYI on live, I moved the video. Hopefully it comes through. If not, you guys will catch this when it comes out in a couple weeks. So elaborate on that more. Because there's a lot of guys, I'm sure, that are dealing with that don't understand what
So
maybe you're
you
definitely
would
referring.
make changes.
Right.
Right. And, small things here and there, whatever, you'd show up for things, and then you'd get pissed off if I wasn't like, oh my God, thank you so much for doing that. Da, da, da. Like, and praising you left and right. But what you didn't realize is that I still had to heal from the past, like what had happened and the person that you had been. And I also had to then grow into another person, or not into another person, but I had growth to do on my own to be able to release that
and accept the new me.
Yeah.
That's a really good point. Big point too, that we need to make here is I don't know what's going on with this live. Hopefully it's recording. Is just because you make changes doesn't mean that your wife will trust those changes. Like
Right.
That's one of the things in this 12-step guide. This is not a pitch for the 12-step guide. It's just something that's appropriate to be said. There's a part of it in that snowball effect. That's like, just because you made the changes over a couple weeks or a couple months doesn't mean that she has made the changes in her or let go of the defense walls like you're talking about, right?
Well, it's not I think, yes, let go but you're healing. There's like a healing process too of like, okay, he's not the same person. I don't have to wait for the next shoe to drop or, things to come crumbling down. Like there's growth and healing that your partner has to do also. And you have to, like, I think for a long time, we like, as you were growing, you didn't recognize that. Like there were times where we would still like,
I wanted instant gratification.
Yes.
I was like, well, hey, listen, I just that seminar I just went to. Yeah, I spent 44 hours there.
Yeah.
So it's different. Let's go. Like,
yeah,
be the new you. I'm the new me. Hey, hey, hey. One of the things I like to talk about is that rubber band effect. When you go to a seminar or when you read a book and something clicks and you're like, whoa, okay, I'm going to implement that. Well, your partner doesn't know what you just read or what you just experienced unless they go with you, and they still have their own experience, even if they do go with you or do read the book with you. And so I think that was something that I had to understand, because one of my big fears, as we're talking about trust here, one of my big fears was that I didn't trust that you were going to be able to release the resentment and the traumas that I had created / you had created in you based on my behavior. And I'm only talking about my side, guys. You got your own shit. Like, and I'm only talking about my side because as an irreplaceable man, our mindset that we adopt is that it's all on us. Our marriage, our wife's happiness, our children, it's all on us. I'm not saying that no one else has fault or anything like that, or not, they don't have responsibilities. What I'm saying is, when you have a mindset that it's all up to you, you want your relationship, your marriage to change, take it all on. There's going to be a lag period, right? There's going to be a lag period. Now, one of the things that I had to like get through, which was a huge, and we talked about this last time we recorded. I, for the longest time, couldn't love you fully because there was still a part of my, like, I trust you as a human the most that I trust anybody on this planet. And on this partner side, forever partner side, marriage side, can I trust that she's actually going to release the resentment that she's got and that has built up over the years based on who I was and what I've done? Can I trust that that's going to happen? Or do I believe my ego and my fear that she's never going to get over that and that she's going to leave eventually anyway? So I can't put both feet in.
Yeah. So
that's why I wasn't able or allowing myself to put both feet in, loving you fully. Not even fully. I loved you fully. It wasn't as much as I could. I wasn't as in our relationship as much as I possibly could be. Both feet in fully, no restriction, no constraint, nothing from the past tying in, just full out. Because unconsciously, I was still scared that the person that I was so polarizing and traumatizing because the fear that was fueling me and running me, or I was allowing to run me, that eventually, even if I put everything that I had into it, you were going to be like, look, given it a good shot. It's not going to, well, waiting for the camera. It's not going to work. I'm out. And all of a sudden I made all these changes, not for you, for me, and then for us. And still it didn't work.
Mm-hmm.
And that was something that I was having trouble with trusting, was that you were actually going to let go of all the shit and give us a fresh page, as
Mm-hmm.
I was doing.
Do you want me to comment?
You want a hug, or like, why are you staring at me?
Yeah, I mean, that's, I get it. I understand. Because that becomes you
And that
putting your all in and getting hurt. But like,
that compounds the next part, which is I'm not the guy that I used to be. However, I'm this new guy who's still playing scared
yeah,
as the new guy. And I remember saying to you, I've changed for everybody else sees the changes except for you. And now what I see when I look back is you don't see the changes because I'm not showing them all to you, because I don't trust that you're actually going to stay.
yeah. Because you weren't all in.
Yeah. And I wasn't all in because I was afraid of getting really fucking hurt, because you're the person I trust most in this world. I mean, just listen to that formula and that pattern, guys. That's how my behavior was running. It was, this is the person I trust most in the world, most of the time more than I trust myself. And I don't trust that she's going to be able to go all in because of the shit that I've done or who I've been in the past. And I'm anticipating how much that's going to hurt.
Mm-hmm.
And as a person that is results driven, I want to put in effort and get a certain result. Right. So there's that aspect too. Yes. And that held me back from the full out that I could have given. Right. Now today it's there's no constriction, no restraints at all, or restrictions and constraints. And I want to let the audience and everybody know, like, and you too, because it helps with us just clearing shit. There's nothing in our way of pure, like, authentic, powerful relationship. That was what I hopped to as I started doing the work on me. And as guys come into our Irreplaceable Man masterminds and our coaching programs, I want them to know that may be the next phase. Is they make changes, their wife really isn't seeing it, really isn't playing ball, and they develop a new wall.
Well, there's like a short circuiting too that kind of happens when you start making those. I mean, like I said, you're waiting for the shoe to drop again. Like,
I'm not putting too much on. I just couldn't get anything out. I did do this for like 20 minutes.
The karma gross. Maybe this is a habit you could change next.
I've had this for like 2-3 months.
I know, but I know.
It
Smells.
Talking about Carmex, guys.
Gross. There's like a period of time where it's very confusing. And is it real? I think too, that's the other thing.
Is that your fear?
Yeah, like, is this real change, or is this because you did start making changes, and then but your ego was still very much
took time.
Hi, look at me. And
oh yeah, well, praise me for the changes I'm making.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I think that I still was like, maybe I should, like, keep myself, be careful here.
This is a good point I want you to make to the guys.
Yeah.
This is what your wife might be going through, guys.
It's not that I didn't care. I wasn't seeing the changes at all. It was just okay, is this real? Is it going to stick? Can I let my guard down? Can I be vulnerable here to not get hurt? Again.
Or like, compound the hurt that you've already experienced. Yeah. That's such a good point. It's such a good point. I love doing these. And I want to take a second to applaud us. Because I talked to somebody last week who's like, dude, I caught that podcast with you and your wife that you did live in the group. Holy shit, you guys have some balls. And I said, why? And he goes, you guys are airing all your shit out there. And I said, well, dude, this is our,
like, we are we everything?
Fuck yeah, we are. I mean, if you took a poll of, let's say 100 people watch this on our group, and a couple thousand watch it on the YouTube.
You know what?
Do you know the percentage that would actually share the type of shit we're sharing?
Well, I think you and I have had these conversations so much that it doesn't feel like, now it doesn't feel like, oh my God, we can't talk about this, because because marital issues are still kind of taboo to talk about.
Yeah, well, it's
there's still, people are still like, oh, I don't want to.
Well, it's kind of like, not exactly. It's kind of like the East Coast renter. Remember we were talking about that?
Yeah.
Like on the West Coast in California, when you say to somebody like, yeah, I rent my house, or like, it doesn't matter what you said. If I said I bought my house or I rent my house, there's no like, oh, wow. In fact, if you said I rent my house, people are like, yeah, smart. That's smart. That's the smart move.
Yeah.
Which it is. And especially here. And like on the East Coast, I remember like people in my parents' neighborhood, they'd be like, did you see the people? They're renters. They rent their house. And I'm like,
when we were trying to decide whether to sell or keep our house back east,
right,
we couldn't find any rental comps for it.
Right.
There was like, there were no rentals.
What kind of person is going to rent this house back there? So anyway, no, there's I'm
random tangent.
I know, I'm saying all that because like it is a cause for appreciation and gratitude to both of us. One, that you get on here. Honestly, it's more you than me, because I do this all the time and I'm always airing our dirty laundry out to the world.
I mean,
like you getting on here
more to be like totally.
It's not that though. Awkward. It's the like Jimmy Napolitano and I were talking about this months and months ago last year. And we said, what kind of relationship would you have when you can get on a microphone and be completely clear and honest about your relationship, ins and outs, what you've been through, where you're going, how much trouble you were in, what you guys have done, who you've become, the work you've done, the way you've hurt each other, traumas and whatever, regrets and resentments. What does your relationship look like? And how do you get it to the point where you could open a microphone and speak this clearly and this honestly about what you've experienced and how you've become who you are today as a person and as a couple? And we've kind of taken on that challenge. No, I think it's more of an accolade for you, because this is another trust piece. Like, you have to trust that the good that this does for the world and it syncs up and matches with the purpose of like my life, the mission of our marriage, and potentially the purpose that you're sitting into, which is helping women of former dictator husbands to empower them to do their thing and to help their husbands grow and shift and evolve. And that you don't worry about anybody that hears this and goes, oh my God, Meredith, I didn't know you had a bad marriage. I didn't know that your husband was such a dickhead. I didn't know that he was only working to provide and didn't come home for the baby or listen to your opinion or care. Like, I think that's really big of you to just put all that potential insecurity or whatever fears about being judged or being whatever. And you looked at it like, I know how much this could help somebody. So I'm going to do that.
Yeah.
How do you trust yourself there? Well, let's talk about that. We got like 10, 15 minutes left. There's so many places we can go with trust, and we're going to do another episode on this topic. I think let me pull up my notes real quick. I think like trust of self and each other. How did we establish self-trust? And how do we establish trust for each other? I'm going to go real quick, and then I really want to hear how you establish trust for you and for us and for me. Okay. I'm super results-based. I'm super data-driven. Again, you'll see this in the 12-step if you download this. We will make a button on the website, and I'll put this in the show notes. So don't worry, like just go to the show notes, and when this episode comes out, I will put a button right there in the Facebook post and the Instagram post. Don't worry, just click it. 12-step guide to becoming an irreplaceable husband and man. I started to set goals and then look at the activities that I needed to do, and then look at the results, and then I would look at a formula that was budding. So the formula worked, awesome. I kept going and I compounded. If the formula didn't work, I dropped it and I looked at the components of each component of the formula, which is kind of like our life formula exercise. You want that? Hit me up. And that's how that's why I built the life formula exercise, so that I could formulaically, measurably, quantifiably understand the effects of my decisions in me and in our relationship. And I learned to trust myself through evidence-based action. For us, again, evidence-based action. What about you though? How did you learn how to trust yourself? Did you ever think, I can't trust myself in our marriage anymore, or I can't trust him? Like, this is gonna be a big.
Like, what do you mean? Like the decision? The decisions that I was making to like
stay. Yeah. And to not just shut me out. Like, you could have stayed and be like, yo, you're on that side of the house and I'm on this side. Here are your clothes. Here's your toothbrush. Fuck off down there. You could have done that.
Yeah.
Why did you trust? Like, this is a big topic. We're going to do another one on trust again. Why did you trust? Like,
so my not as evidence-based and formula, not quite like yours. I think it was just a day by day thing, like you and I are very different in how we project things.
What do you mean?
Like you're very like evidence, visual, you need to think beyond, whatever. And I have to think in like shorter time spans.
You get that?
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, in an interview, if anyone ever,
anybody want to interview Mayor?
Like, like a job interview, where do you see yourself in 5 years, whatever. I'm like, I don't fucking know. Where do I need to know where I see myself in like a month. And I feel like that's just how I function better that way. And like in shorter time spans versus being like, okay, I'm going to give this 1 year. And if I can't prove to myself, whatever, it's day by day, right? Yeah. Like today, do I feel good about how I ended the day? Do I feel good about my reactions to Ian? Do I feel good about how I stood up for myself? Do I feel good about how...
So you're still measuring.
Yeah. And in smaller chunks though.
And like in more of a, I
think I had to make conscious decisions to either react or not react, or to let go of the trauma of like, okay, if there's a moment where Ian needs to be put first, like it doesn't need to feed into my trauma. Like Ian might need something in that moment,
which is super big,
like,
by the way,
versus me being like, I'm not going to put him first. He didn't put me, like I had there, and you can't, I had to separate.
Compartmentalize. What?
Guys, I'm not great with words. Sorry.
Compartmentalize.
So that that resent wouldn't continue to build up. I mean, were there moments of like where it would spike and I'd be like, but I measured it differently. And it was day by day, moment by moment.
Yeah.
I feel like
all I can think about is that speech that Ben Stiller gives in Meet the Parents, day by day.
Yeah.
By day, amen. And then he shoots the urn. That was such an ADD moment when you said day by day. I'm like, but 3 things we pray.
That's how I had to do it. Was today a good day? Did I have, and we talked about this recently about like approaching your day. I saw this somewhere, approaching your day in like quarters, almost like a football game, to not let like the morning totally derail the afternoon. And I think we got to that point too of like, if something derailed, we could work through and talk about it. And
there's something interesting there to dig into for a second. Like there's people that I talk to who will say, last Thursday, I didn't show up too well for my wife and she's still making me pay for that. That is not serving.
Mm-hmm.
And guys, yes, you can tell your wives that does not serve you. that does not serve the forward progression of your relationship. I think
Well, and the feel like I used to do that,
not really. That's why I'm like giving us some accolade.
But living in the past of like, well, you used to do this and you blah, blah, blah. And like the feeling that you have around that, it's not serving to the relationship, but it's also not serving to you as a person, because you're just creating this stress in your body and your mind that you're
just holding on to more and more. And
it's showing up in more ways than you want it to. And you think you're winning and proving a point. And there are times for that. I'm not going to say that you never need to like not do, but it's not when, oh, you didn't do the dishes. And
well,
there's a conscious conversation surrounding those moments.
I mean, I think one of the topics that we're going to talk about on the next one is the difference between being right and making someone else wrong, and then just like releasing whatever this idea of I need to be right to feel this insecurity in me. Like that's what we didn't have, which was cool. Now I had that way more than you did. What I'm giving us accolade on is that maybe this is completely psychotic on my part. Like we could battle in the morning and then be completely fine 3 hours later.
So, yes, and
I could.
We had to come down from that and have a conversation. It wasn't just like we were ignoring the battle. And I think that's a key difference, because that there some toxicity becomes created there if you battle and then you don't address it, and then you're like, oh, okay.
Oh yeah, well, we addressed it. We just weren't in the heat of battle.
We figured out how to work through that.
Yeah.
And to be able to come together later in the day and not be resentful or whatever.
Yeah, I would agree with that. I think there's so much we can talk about. I'm going to wrap this thing. There's so much we can talk about in terms of like the swords and shields, and like making a commitment to not come at each other with defense walls up or with like daggers out. And yeah, this has to be a whole nother conversation.
Mm-hmm.
We might repeat a couple of things. It's really still very beneficial, because we're on the other side of what a lot of people are dealing with that scares them. Like, how do I get out of the middle of this thing? Or is there even any hope for me? Or like, do I even want this thing forever? Because there's always options out there, right? And like, how do you sift through all the dirt, all the shit, everything that's going on, and trust yourself to make that decision to stay with the partner that you want to be with forever?
Right.
Some guys don't. Some guys got married too early. They did the whole high school, college, job, married, babies thing, and then they realized that, hey, this job, don't like it, get rid of it. And this partner that I have, not the person I want to be with forever. Don't stay. You go. And now you're listening to this because you want to make sure that you are the irreplaceable man and husband for your next relationship. And then there are guys that are really vibing with what we're talking about and going, okay, fuck, that's me. What do I do? And, you got to step back and trust yourself. I mean, I think that's something that I really had to do was, do I want to be with you because I'm insecure to be with anybody else? Mm-hmm. Do I really want to be with you because I'm meant to be with you? How do I trust myself? How do I trust the universe? And so it's those small things, those small little measurable formulas, or those quantifiable formulas that say, this is how I know. Mm-hmm. There's you could go out there and like, you could get options anytime, anywhere. The thing that I focus on is, when I think about us at like in 15, 20, 30 years from now, when we bought a 5-year pass to just cruising around the world, and we're just island hopping and city hopping and having fun. Like, do I want to do that with the person that like I really dream of being with for the future? Or do I want to do that with the person that spikes my curiosity now that I don't see a future with.
Mm-hmm.
Do I want to do that alone? Do I want to just be single and go, hey, I got a ticket for this cruise ship. Hey, you want to come on for 2 weeks and hang? Like, what are those options? And as I removed the internal restrictions and constraints of my childhood and traumas and bullshit about my identity and money and the relationship with this and this, and once I really did the work that the Irreplaceable Man, literally, like, our curriculum is this work to evolve you and to remove those internal restrictions and constraints that are holding you back from realizing the results of your life that you know are possible, you just haven't gotten yet, or you haven't gotten in a consistent manner. Once I started to forward project and really understand this is what I really want, because all those things were out and I could see really clearly, removing those restrictions and constraints from my internal helped me trust my external moves.
Right.
And help me trust my internal thoughts and feelings, because I wasn't any longer driven by feelings and emotions, which were basically from the past anyway. And when I thought about those things, I was able to trust myself and say, this is who I want to be with. I want to be with you on that cruise ship, or rolling around in Asia, or, you know, renting a sailboat in Greece. Like, it's you that I want to be with. And when I established that vision for this future, and I really started to understand what I was doing here on this planet, that's when the pieces of the formula really started to align. And me, because I was doing the work on me as an operator of the machine, of the formula, started to get different results.
Right.
And I started to trust and build more trust. And the trust snowball started rolling forward instead of rolling backward. And this is a big conversation that we can, I think we'll have this next time too. Any parting words?
The pressure, I guess.
You can just say thank you. You can say
thanks for listening, guys. No,
well, let's tell people about the membership.
Okay.
Now, last time, for you guys listening, last time we we've recorded a bunch of episodes. We did it for Mental Purpose Podcast, and they didn't hit like the last one did. When we did our first Irreplaceable Man episode, we had so many people reach out and they asked, I want access to Meredith, her brain, her voice. I want access. I want to be able to ask her questions. How do we do that? So we started a membership program. It's $97. And once a week you get access to Meredith. You can ask her questions. And she's a great coach. She doesn't think so. She's a great coach. She really knows her stuff. I trust you to go to when I can't trust my feelings and emotions in a moment. I know that I can trust you to help me work through some challenges that I'm facing. So if you're interested in that, if you need that, you want to jump on with this lovely lady, ask questions, you're going to be able to do that. Just drop a comment, membership, and we will, we're getting that set up right now on the back end. It'll be out in just a week. And if you want our 12-step guide to becoming that irreplaceable man and husband that you know you're capable of being, the one that your wife actually wants to be with, the one that she never will want to leave, the one she wants to hang out with, have fun with like we do, we can help you do that. If you want that guide, just drop in 12 steps and we'll shoot that over to you and we'll keep this train rolling. This feels good. When we got done our first episode a couple weeks ago, I was like, all right, the level has changed. The game has completely changed for us and this business and our purpose and our mission here, the mission of our marriage. Right. It's now changed. How do you feel about it?
Yeah, it has, for sure.
Do you feel, obviously we're different people today. Do you feel better today doing these episodes and sharing versus like, oh, what's the last one we did? Like a year and a half ago, 2 years ago?
The last one we did was right before we moved to California.
Was that the last one?
Yeah, I remember, in the basement of Farmstead.
Wow.
Because we had just finished the basement. Yeah, I think so. I mean, I'm still a little awkward. But yeah, it feels better to talk about these things now. Yeah.
And we'll figure out the video situation on live. And if you haven't yet joined the Irreplaceable Man Facebook community, jump on. Super easy. It's free. You get some cool stuff, some free stuff. You get advice. You get content from us. And yeah, because we're gonna move these lives at a certain point to the membership, so that people in the membership can actually get access to us 30 minutes before and 30 minutes after we record, plus once a week. I mean, for $100 a month.
It's a lot of information.
It's a lot of information, a lot of guidance. You get access to our exercises. Anyway, thank you, Irreplaceable Man group, for watching live. There's been a bunch of you on here. Love all the comments. And I want to thank us.
Thank you, us.
Thank you, us. Well, for us, for doing the work and staying committed to not only us, staying committed to ourselves and our personal growth, and continuing that commitment and sustaining that level of dark wood. Entering. That makes sense. No.
Walking through the dark woods.
Yeah, just keep going through the dark woods. Like every time we're like,
book.
we built the
It's
habit.
like the we're going on a bear hunt book.
Yeah. Leave us with that, Mare.
We're going on a bear hunt book. The family is in several different, a snowstorm, mud, a forest, a river, all these different things. And the kids go, oh no, mud, we can't go over it, we can't go under it, we've got to go through it. And I think that's kind of poignant with, you can't avoid, you have to go through it. They find the bear in the end because they went through it.
Yeah, I think we'll leave on that.
Yeah.
All right, audience, thanks for listening. Catch you on the next one.